You're listening to the Golightly Marshall Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
Show number 26, continuing with the testament of the Lord Jesus Christ, the true testament of the Lord Jesus Christ, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. We're about halfway through, and I'll reread the paragraph I left with in the previous show. I want you to follow very closely now with what I am showing you. The world this time is a very different place, and people today require scientific evidence before they will even begin to open their minds to what I have been revealing to them. I am only after our own children who recognize the truth I present. They will find us, not the other way around. A third tool that I use is gematria. You would be familiar with the substitution of letters with numeric values in the English, Greek, and Hebrew alphabets. Quoting the Revelation, I am the Alpha and the Omega, from the Revelation given to John on the Isle of Patmos on the anniversary of the resurrection, the 96th day of the year, in the year 96 AD. It was Michael who gave it to John. Michael is my angel as Yahushua, or Jesus. He looks exactly like me as the young man, Yahshua. Gabriel is my angel who looks like me today, the old man. He is the angel of the Lord. Michael, as my heavenly presence, has a habit of showing up in people's lives. He is the one who appears to people just as he did to John on Patmos. John thought it was me because Michael looks just like me then. The Alpha and the Omega was a clue. Martha calls them the Blues Clues, inserted into the script as riddles for the seeker, and for her who found me, they are the blatantly obvious sense of humour that she recognised the night she found me after searching for 9 years, looking for me on the earth. All about the synchronicity of the timing. Alpha and Omega, yes, I am the beginning and the end. However, it was a clue that I would be using the first and last letters and every letter in between of the Greek alphabet, gematria, to decode and reveal the truth, laying beneath the corrupted texts of the book everyone would be reading by the time I got back. In Greek gematria, Jesus or Iesous has a value of 888. Remember that and the numbers that follow. Now back to Miriam, or Mary, whose name today is Michelle Sheila Nye. Mary's youngest daughter, Rhiannon, was born in Geelong, Australia, December 20th, 1979, when the sunlight duration on that day was 888 minutes. My first daughter, Tracy, was born in Port Alberni, British Columbia, Canada, on May the 4th, 1968, when the sunlight duration was 888 minutes. This date, May the 4th, 1968, is 11.626 years before Rhiannon, born December 20th, 1979. Mary, or Michelle herself, is 1162.6 days younger than myself. I was 1162.6 weeks old when I married Eileen the harlot on April the 23rd, 1966. 1162.6 weeks is 22.28 years. 2228 metres is the height of Mount Kosciuszko, the highest mountain in Australia. My youngest daughter, Nicole, born to Eileen the harlot, is 777 days, or 2.127 years younger than Rhiannon. Rhiannon, therefore, is linked to my oldest and youngest daughter within a sacred numeric wonder. Mary, or Michelle, was 32.7 years old when she gave birth to Rhiannon. 32.75 years old when she gave birth to Rhiannon. So we have a number, 3275, associated with Mary, or Michelle, and 2127 associated with her daughter Rhiannon. 3725 and 2127 as concordance numbers both are numbers found only once in the Old Testament. Now consider carefully what I am about to reveal. Of the 600,000 plus words in the Old Testament, what are the mathematical odds these two numbers would be found in the same verse? Not only both only found once in the same verse, but they are side by side. Mother and daughter side by side in 1 Chronicles 5:13. The verse with 7 names of the house of God. The Bible, being the work of the devil, dominates the earth, but I, as Yahweh, Jesus, allowed the formation of the satanic Freemason Bible, as I did the Catholic, to gather and disseminate in any way they could to prevent me, that is, coming in the clouds, or led into the abyss along with 36,000 different denominations of the Pauline Zionist Freemason Solomon Talmud abomination, leaving only the narrow way of the Essene, leading to sanity and salvation. Naturally, the Luciferian devils thought they had succeeded in forbidding Christ. Getting back to Miriam or Mary, the Lady Christ, therefore, cannot have a name meaning rebellion and untrustworthiness. I simply would not have it. What controls when and where we are reborn is all in the hands of the angels. They are the tapestry weavers. As Jesus, I was born of the most royal parents of the tribe of Judah. Mary, who married Joseph ben Jacob Israel, marriage is seed within the womb. As Jesus Yahshua, I was born on June the 17th, 2 BC, Gemini, the twins. The sunrise to sunset was 855 minutes. The moonrise occurred 33 minutes after sunset, 888 minutes from sunrise to moonrise. The Star of Bethlehem occurred the first time on June the 17th, 2 BC. The second time in his story occurred on my rebirth date into Sydney, Australia, 11th of January 1944. Nobody talks about that, even though I have alerted the world of science years ago and have the astronomy programs running the conjunction that occurred at both times, uploaded for the world to see. No one has the eyes to see or the ears to hear. They have been consumed, poisoned, and indoctrinated by our enemy and have become the walking dead. These same numbers are repeated on my rebirth date in Sydney on January 11th, 1944. Sunrise to sunset, 855 minutes, and moonrise 33 minutes later, 888 minutes from sunrise to moonrise. Remember, Greek gematria for Iesus, or Jesus, is 888. My illegitimate, now deceased brother was 8.88 years of age on January 11th, 1944. It was 8,880 days later my first daughter, Tracy Lee, was reborn, and the sunrise to sunset was also 888 minutes. Getting back to my born dead son, James, he came back in Rhiannon's second daughter, Trinity Lee, born 888 weeks after I married Pauline on February the 14th, 1987. Trinity will be 8.88 years old on my 69th birthday, January 11th, 2013. The end of the pyramid prophecy, and 69 is Jehovah. And yes, it is the gematria for Leonard. And of course, Trinity is your Mother Mary, the Holy Mother Mary. The pyramid. Isaiah chapters 19, verses 19 and 20 are the two verses that predict the Great Pyramid as being the altar to the Lord. Its Hebrew gematria for the two verses total 5449, the same number as the height, 5449 pyramid inches, of the structure up to the summit platform where the capstone was to sit, but it was too large by 286.1 pyramid inches and so rejected. The entire structure at the base level was laid out on 100 solar years of 36,524.24 pyramid inches, then reduced by 286.1 pyramid inches. I will leave off the reason why, but the rejected capstone is to do with the Lord being rejected in the end times. Psalm 118 verse 22 and Matthew 21.42. Quoting, Jesus saith unto them, Did ye never read in the scriptures the stone which the builders rejected? The same is become the head of the corner. This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvellous in our eyes. In the Aramaic, the head of the corner is actually the word pyramid. It is the genetic key of my rebirth date, which has to be used to unlock the mystery of my altar, the pyramid, while measuring the earth, my temple. The pyramid is a record and memorial to me at this time of the end. It identifies me and is the witness to the world of the dead, and can only be read by me in this time of the end, since December the 18th, 1922, the last 90 years until my 69th birthday, the 11th of January 2013. The pyramid is a prophecy built nearly 5,000 years ago by the descendants of Enoch. 7,000 years ago. It is the Bible in stone and can only be read by me, the Lord Christ, because I am the genetic key of the house of David, and I have been revealing it to a lost world since I could get onto the internet in 2000. And of course, I am rejected by all in this generation. As said, the genetic key of the house of David is my rebirth date, the 11th of January 1944. And then the number 11626, if you remember earlier, the age difference between Mary and me, the age in weeks I was when I married Lucifer's choice Eileen, and the age difference between Mary's Rhiannon and my Tracy. All is centred around my rebirth date and 11626. Why? It is the width in pyramid inches, 116.26 pyramid inches of the antechamber. The chamber I must walk through after getting out of the king's chamber that I was born into at my rebirth. The key is my birth date, 11th of January 1944, announced by the 50th solar eclipse 14 days later on January the 25th, that aligned with the floor of the king's chamber. Mary, or Michelle, albeit unwittingly, her birth date set up by my angels for me to find by me when the moment in time was right, is identified by the antechamber within the Great Pyramid. A prophecy of me having to find her before. Do my time within this life, agony again before I could get out and walk toward the grand gallery representing the masses of the world. Of the pyramid numbers, we measure the distances to my birthplace, and then even more so the solar eclipses, starting with the first, which occurred on March 17, 1923, to the 50th layer, which is the floor to the king's chamber, aligned with the 50th solar eclipse, which occurred on January the 25th, 1944, 14 days after my rebirth on a full moon. That eclipse, along the 25-degree north latitude, measures 8,888.8 miles to my rebirth location at 105 Rothschild Avenue, Sydney, Australia. It announced my arrival upon the earth. Incidentally, when I was 888 days old, it was June the 17th, 1946, aligned with my first birth as Jesus, June the 17th, 2 BC. I was conceived on September the 11th, 3 BC. Yes, 9/11, and the reason why the powers that be, Talmudic Zionist Jews who brought down those towers on that date. A slap in the face to me, all part of the many things I've had to suffer. Just a note, not as part of this document, but Yah has written on the board here that the marriage of Daphne Golightly to Reginald Marshall, which on the certificate, or is the 20th of July 1934, plus 454.57 weeks. Now, 454.57 in feet is the height of the pyramid up to the summit platform where the capstone did not fit. So it's as is up to the summit platform. So that time in weeks from July 20th, 1934, lands on April the 6th, 1943, which is the conception date and the anniversary of the resurrection in 33 AD, but the conception date in 1943 AD of the Holy Ghost, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. All this wonderful synchronicity and perfection you would expect from the Creator. So moving right along. I have thousands of drawings of my measuring of this earth that I have compiled since 1990, starting in Canada, where I had lived from January the 4th, 1967, until my daughter Tracy Lee was conceived. July 29th, 1967 is a total of 206 days. The human bone count is 206. Also, the width of the Asherah Queen's Chamber is 206 pyramid inches wide. 206 Greek in the concordance is uppermost extremity from capstone. The Lady Christ, or Martha, will be 20,600 days old on my 69th birthday, January the 11th, 2013. Measuring the pyramid into the far wall of the king's chamber from the great step, and then to the king's coffer, then the ceiling, multiplied by a lunation, which is 29.53052 days, and you have 31101 pyramid inches. The King James 1611 verse total is 31101, and 31101 is the Julian day number I was reborn on. That is 24311101, Julian day. My daughters were conceived in Canada in homes I built that were 444.3 kilometres apart, and that number is how many times the word God, 4443, is found in 3877 verses. The total of the concordance numbers for each of the 7 names listed in 1 Chronicles 5:13 is 31106. Then divided by the 7 names to get an average equals 4443.714285714286. 4443 is the number of times that God is found in 3877 verses. 4443 in Hebrew is king of a high one. Greek is fire. And the number to the right of the decimal point, when broken down, means enough, sufficient. Bald on the back of the head, which I am. Lamb, which I am. Are you beginning to get the picture, David? Where I was reborn at St. Margaret's Maternity Hospital, it measures 3877 miles to the South Pole, and where I was to live with my family at 105 Rothschild Avenue until I was 942 days old, the distance to the South Pole is 3875 and is the word comforter, that is God, the Father this time, come to liberate the meek from Satan, the Zionist, Talmudic Jews, Freemasonry, Skull and Bones, etc. They will be destroyed off the face of the earth, being my judgment. Moving along, the next and final solar eclipse of the pyramid prophecy is to occur on November the 14th, 2012, measures 942 miles from where my crib was at 105 Rothschild Avenue until I was 942 days old. Why? The word Jesus is found in the 1611 KJV Bible in 942 verses 973 times. Where I live at this moment, Toogoom, Australia, measures 973 kilometres to my place of birth. When I was 2424 days old, which was August the 31st, 1950, I was in the convent schoolyard, lunchtime, 12:12 p.m. There were 2 9-year-old boys. One said Jesus was a Pharisee, and another said no, he was a Sadducee. I instantly charged towards them with clenched fists, screaming, Jesus was an Essene. Immediately I stepped through the veil to be sitting on and gazing down at the rounded edges of the 3rd step of a synagogue, high on a hill overlooking houses in the distance. I looked at the door behind me, very old, red-brown, splintered timbers arched to the top. I traced the mortar between the stone blocks that made the steps and noted how it crumbled. A woman, Mary, my mother, was striding away from me. Not turning around, she called, Jesus, Jesus, come. As I ran towards her, I felt the tiredness I was feeling, having walked from Egypt. I slowed to her left side. She was a tall woman, fair skin, pretty, English-looking, in a black robe. She said, I want to tell you something. If the Jews find out we are Essene, they will kill us. I looked back to see Joseph coming out of the synagogue, a wide bushy beard, a large man, his huge arms on the shoulders of 2 men also wearing black. He was in a grey robe. Down the left, a darker grey strip 4 inches wide with a red and black line either side, 1/4 of an inch thick, or about that. Then the scene changed. Suddenly we were in a mud shack with 1 window. Sticks held the rag curtain from flapping in the night breeze. Mary said, we are going to see the high priest, so don't follow us. I looked as they slank in the shadow pressed against the walls of the houses, avoiding being exposed by the light of the moon. In their black garments, they were barely visible as they went. Why were they to see the high priests? They were to introduce God, immanent, to them. It was February the 5th, 6th AD. Later that same afternoon, walking home from school, when 6 years, 7 months and 19 days old, I looked up at the heavens and said, God, I know you cannot be here for some reason, but you must have left yourself in the creation. If you like, you can tell me, and I will tell the world. Back to the marvel of the pyramid. If you have not gathered it by now, I am the rejected capstone, the stone the builders rejected. That is why the Luciferian occults have hijacked the pyramid for their own evil occult agendas. They know it's all about me. Now, in this document, there are diagrams of the Grand Gallery to the centre line with all of those measurements that I quoted earlier to arrive at the 3110 01 number of the verse count and the Julian day, etc. Underneath it continues, the disinformation about the Great Pyramid is relentless. However, when the English and Scottish astronomers and other sciences went there to debunk it, instead they all were drawn into the precision, alignment, measurements, and its height, which matched Isaiah 19, verses 19 and 20, Hebrew gematria. The descendants of the sons of God, who mated with angels, had conquered Egypt and built all of the structures in Egypt over a 100-year period, stamped into the base of the pyramid in marked out lines. And then when the structure was built, it was actually 286.1 pyramid inches smaller, reduced from the 36,524.24 pyramid inches, or in days, 100 years. From this we see the English astronomers established lunation zero on December the 18th, 1922, the date of the beginning of the end of days, the last 90 years, and the first eclipse on March the 17th, 1923. When I add Mary Magdalene Michelle number 3275 from 1 Chronicles 5:13 to the last solar eclipse to occur on November 14th, 2012, the distance in time is 32750 days. Quoting Luke 20:17, and he beheld them and said, "What is this then that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner." Corner was changed from pyramid. The pyramid predates by 2,800 years all religions that came along via the Jews to dominate and devour all mankind. So the squeaky wheel here is the false Jews, the Talmudic Zionists, who will forbid Christ operating through the devoured Christian churches and governments and media, all to prevent me, the Christ. Protocol number 14. For 32 years I have been revealing how the earth has my name written all over it, from the South Pole to Tahiti to Easter Island to the pyramid, and on and on. One might correctly conclude the things that identify me could not be written in all the books of the world. The next page is Isaiah 11:1 and Isaiah 9:6. The 96th day of the year is the anniversary of the resurrection through 1910 years and my conception on April the 6th, 1943, plus a perfect human gestation of 280 days is the 11th of January, 1944. Now the document has in Hebrew the text of Isaiah 9:6 and Isaiah 11:1, identifying the conception and the rebirth date of the Christ. Now each verse, when added, and every seventh letter in Hebrew is counted and then added, each verse totals 888, the Greek gematria for Jesus. So each verse is identifying Jesus. And then in the document there is a copy of the landed immigrant passport crossing over into Canada. The passport date is April the 3rd, 1963, valid until 1968. And the cross, of course, occurred on April the 3rd in 33 AD. Now Mary Magdalene was of the tribe of Judah, not a black-skinned woman, nor was there a blue rose, and she did not conceive. The myth is set up by the enemy and is to link Mary, calling her my sister, the son and daughter of Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. And then the lineage descends to Prince William via Elizabeth, and Vlad the Impaler reincarnate Charles. giving the Jews who call themselves Jews and are not total control over humanity by their King of Kings. The Antichrist William, who enjoys the sport of killing my creation, just as his father has taught him. Princess Diana was one of our daughters, a saint, and like me and Martha, a lamb to the slaughter, and she knew it. She despaired that both her boys seemed to like killing things. As you can see, I have much to reveal to you and your community. These pages are just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Since Martha found me on March the 30th, 2008, the 17th birthday of her son Adam, who is the reincarnated Lazarus, we have been the hands of mercy to the meek and suffering in Papua New Guinea and Fiji and the Aboriginal community within the Northern Territory of Australia. We took the cures for all diseases twice to those nations and treated hundreds personally, while we left the protocols with the natives who continue the healing. The government of Papua New Guinea threatened us with arrest should we return, since we charge nothing for curing the natives of AIDS or cancer, malaria, STDs, etc. The natives there live under a sentence of death, and the lie that there is no cure for AIDS. We showed them there is. The same in Fiji. We were arrested, spent a night in jail on a half-inch thick piece of foam, and then deported for doing the same, after living with and among the meek for over 4 months. However, again, the protocols were left with the saints among the villagers, and the cures go on. Nothing else matters, and we rejoice in the rejection as it fulfills my prophecy. To affirm you are right about the Lord and Lady Christ appearing, Yahshua, Jesus and Martha, the one I kissed on the lips most often and still do, reborn and known as Brian and Janelle, or Yahweh and Asherah, Mr. and Mrs. Messiah, or as the owner of the Mandurang post office saw us for the first time we walked in, Mr. and Mrs. God. Just do not call us late for dinner. So David Day, as Martha would say, the double D is a B. She has much fun with the clues, and she is the one to have alerted me to the existence of your community. She is my angel and my rescue from this life of suffering I had to endure for the sake of the meek. The perfect woman, the queen of the queen's chamber. As Martha, Rome sent their assassin from the cross to take back Martha's head to them. He did, in a box. She had given birth to the boys James and Joshua. Mary, my mother, raised Joshua in England, and the repentant Mary, my first wife, took James to France, where she and Lazarus raised him. You will not find anything recorded of Martha that is truth. She has been removed, just as Asherah, the wife of Yahweh, was by the same scribes of hell who have rewritten his story. We live quietly with Job, who is called Joel today. He found us as the saints do. John is not far away from where you are. Adam, Lazarus is heading. Adam's wife, Claudia, she the thief that was hanging by my side, who I promised would be with me this day now in paradise. That was fulfilled on the anniversary of the crucifixion on April the 3rd, 2011, when Claudia arrived by airplane to join us in Savu, Fiji. The name is called the Hidden Paradise. I am not concerned with who people were in the past. What counts is who they are today and whether they recognize the truth of all that I have declared for this generation. Love is the highest form of intelligence, and I am here for the children and those adults with the intelligence and humility to comprehend how I have had to overcome hell, the Talmudic Zionist Roman Pharisee Western churches, the beast, to set the captives free. You can call us at any time, ask anything you like, or better still, come and stay with us and then report back to your community your findings. Bring another witness with you if you like. So this is the end of the document. There is our address and Skype address there, ending Love and peace to all. Brian Leonard and Janelle Margaret Golightly Marshall, the Lord Jesus Christ and Lady Martha Magdalene. So, and there's our wedding day, December the 4th, 2010 in Fiji. We're dressed in our robes and chuka painted in oils for us, and there is the Shroud of Turin, which of course is the image of the Christ today, the blatantly obvious for the pure in heart, as Jesus, he promised, would see God. Needless to say, there was no response, no contact, total rejection again. Everybody has their own ideas, their own teachings that they mostly, for the most part, are unwilling to lay down. And of course, since this document was sent to him, then Pope Benedict on March the 11th, 2013, so 3 months after this document was written, for David Day of the Essene community in Oregon, Pope Benedict was the one with the humility and the pure heart to see God, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, in the Shroud of Turin, and announced to the world, firstly through uploading to his Facebook on March the 12th, the day before the conclave, illegitimate conclave, elected the Antichrist Francis, and then formally through his Apostolic Letter on March the 26th, 2013.
Of course, the Pope, being a man still the highest ranking officer of the Church before the conclave, made the announcement that Christ was back, would automatically stop any conclave because there's no point in having a Pope if Christ is back.
That's right.
So,
however, the Antichrist had to be flushed out, didn't it?
that's right. It's the whole idea of it.
And he was asking, who will the next Pope be? And you said it doesn't matter who it is. Whoever walks out of the conclave as whoever they're elected will be the Antichrist. You may as well put a slug in his head and save the world the grief that they're all going through now. Fukushima had already been set off 2 years before. However, the announcement that the Christ is back to all of the nations, the Christ could rally an army in Russia, China's, Christianity is spreading like a wildfire through there, so they are more Christian than today the USA is, and especially Russia under Putin, could have stopped this immediately that the announcement was made within weeks, literally.
You can fix the meltdown, no problem. That's all I'm going to do.
So it's another year going on, spewing out into the atmosphere. People are dying. Babies are being born deformed or being aborted at 8 months, like the friend of Aaron's wife. This is high up in Edmonton. Anyway, so we are 25 minutes short of show number 26.
38 minutes now.
Okay, so we've got about 20 minutes to go. I'm going to stop right here, have a break, and we'll fill in this with something else.
The Golightly Marshall Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
Yes, we have the show back, show number 26.
All right.
Continuing, part 2, after having finished reading the lengthy document of the New Testament of the Lord Jesus Christ, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, written for the Essene community, who have completely ignored it, as have the rest of the world. Now, what was amazing was the finding, obviously we did it then, but the passport, April the 3rd, 1963.
Yes. 1963.
Now, what have you found after you've spent all day doing research on it now?
Well, I've measured, it has to be in a PowerPoint, of course, and I'll do that tomorrow, but again, it's the confirmation of who I am and what's to become of America. And I think what I should point out is that everyone's expecting Jesus back. Well, that ain't happening. The whole idea is that the cross and the bleeding, the blood, the soul being in the blood, came back to the outside of the body, resurrected, then ascension, and then as the Holy Ghost to be born, conceived on the 6th of April, Australia time, 1943, and that is after my mother married on the 20th of July 1934. The distance in time is the same number as the height of the pyramid up to the rejected capstone, which is 454.57 weeks, and the height of the pyramid is 454.57 feet. So a lot of confusion over what the Jesus figure is when he comes back. But if you read your Gospels, don't take any notice of anything else, just the Gospels and Isaiah, Daniel. These were Essenes, and it's all about being an Essene. Now, it's quite clear that when the Lord comes, it is Yahweh himself, God the Father. And it's judgment. So the gathering is the parable of the tares and the wheat. Let them all be, let the good be good and the evil be evil, up until the angels show up and take you out. Suffer little children not to come unto me. That means that you've got to be like a little child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, I've got several people who have relations that are homosexuals. And what you have to worry about is not what they are, is what you are. So I've got a friend, of course, that's his daughter swings both ways. Well, that's the kind of thing we're not going to have into the children of God. You're starting off afresh, you're all children again, and the elect will be the ones that will be assisting in the reformation of the earth under a righteous government. But you got the old man, and the old man is me, and I ain't putting up with no crap. Man has been given the ability to create and free will. Well, the free will has a caveat, and that is you've got the ability to create, and you can only create good. You also have the ability of free will, and free will has also got a caveat, and that is you can only do good. And
follow the order of the creation.
Follow the Creator. If I say no, that's it. Now, yes. I'm saying no to homosexuality. I'm saying no to child molestation. I'm saying no to all that. I even seen a priest make a statement one day, God made me this way. Oh, no, I didn't. You made yourself. All right, you've all got a choice.
It's it was said to me at some point today that about spirits, whiskey and brandy and strong spirits. Well, these things are part of the creation. No, they're not. These things have been created from the evil of man. And spirits are spirits. They're called spirits for the reason that they influence and rob your soul of your spirituality and your position as made in the image of God. As Essene, we did not touch alcohol in any way, shape or form, and it will be banned in the kingdom of God. There is no place for it. So get used to it. You either give it up now or you miss out. There's no...
Like, if you look at it from the point of view of what heaven is, you die and you go up to heaven, you go straight into a bar and have a drink, or you bring your Bible with you, like, hello, it's bullshit. I've been telling you that these religious works are all bullshit, that you cannot go on anything that man has put together. It is total rubbish. So I breeze through and look at what is true and what isn't true, and I just straighten it out as we go. And of course there is codes that are in there because of King James, for example, who was anointed as a Christ custodian on the sacred rock, which is what it's for. Now, does a sacred rock have magical powers? No. It's what you believe, that when you sit on and you are anointed the king upon that, you believe it. Therefore, if you believe it, it is true. And the angels will help you. That's what it was all about, the divine right of kings. Well, all the kings have been squashed. The English throne has been replaced by demons. We've got the likes of Charles, who is proud of the fact that he is descended from Vlad the Impaler. We've got the work of Bill Cooper, where he is talking about the descent from Mary Magdalene and Jesus, and also Solomon. In other words, Jesus was descended, and Mary Magdalene was descended from Solomon. No, sorry, Mary Magdalene is back today in Michelle Nye. I was with her for all these years. I had to be with her. I didn't like any 1 minute of it. However, that's what the crucifixion's all about. And if you like to look at it from the point of view of the spontaneously, I get a passport. You fill out the application and it goes off and comes back. And what's it dated? April the 3rd, which is the date of the crucifixion in 33 AD. So the crucifixion has been on ever since I got back to the earth. So it's going to be done my way, and that's the end of it. So if you've got relatives that are homosexual, give them a warning. So you better study this old fella, because he ain't taking no crap, and there ain't going to be no homosexuals or anything that offends.
Anything that offends a child.
Anything that offends a child.
So think about all of your entertainment, your music that you're all listening to. Think about your own thoughts. And if any of you are in any way, immoral, sexually perverted in any way, lusting after things that are would offend a child, then you better clean up your act quick, smart. None of it will be allowed.
Yes, it is a wonderful story. Anybody who sits down and studies what I've written over the years, if you don't see it, then you've got a demon, or many demons. It's as simple as that. It is impossible not to study what I've revealed to you and not recognise who I am. And I'm telling you that I'm not happy with the earth at all. Now, we talk about what man has created. Well, look at Fukushima. What's behind that? Well, we know the Zionists are behind it, and we know that the Jews are behind it. We know that it goes back to the Talmud, and we know it goes back to Babylon, and we know it's the Khazaria in 800 AD that adopted rabbinical Talmudism out of Babylon, where the king was so disgusted with the people that he actually brought in a religion that was at least tolerable to their way of thinking, which was evil, and that was the Talmud, which is, at the time of myself as Jesus, was the Mishnah. So it was a secret, but you couldn't keep it secret from me. This is the whole point. So that is what's dominated, and that is why they regard you as being an animal, and that is what Fukushima is all about. They have been so cunning that they have not only created nuclear reactors, but they've got the masses to pay for these nuclear reactors to be built. Now, Japan is an amazing, amazing people there. They've been bombed twice by the Americans, and yet they allow the Americans to come in and sell them all these nuclear reactors, which have all got the Stuxnet virus in them, and at any time can be triggered. So what do we got? We got the first reactor goes down on the 11th of March 2011. It's 3 times more powerful and more dangerous than Chernobyl. Now, Chernobyl, when I was working on that in '86, it was so dangerous that hundreds of people gave up their lives for the salvation of Europe. Very brave people who have done it. There were 600 helicopter pilots. They all died. If the meltdown had got through to the basement where the water was, it would have set off the equivalent of a 3 megaton bomb and killed everybody in Europe, just with the fallout, let alone the blast. Now you got, in Japan, it's worse than that. Just the first reactor is 3 times worse than Chernobyl. The second reactor went down 2 days later, and it is 3 times worse than Chernobyl. Then the next reactor, number 3, which went down, it had the MOT fuel in it. And that's plutonium weaponry material. They make the bombs out of it. It was never to be used in a reactor, yet they did do it, and the Israelis installed it. It is not 3 times more dangerous. It's not 10 times more dangerous. It's 2 million times more dangerous than Chernobyl. Now, just write that number down. 2 million. That's 2 with 6 zeros after it. Now, Chernobyl was capable of killing everybody in Europe. So, it's only an act of God that you're not all dead already. It's also the fact that we crossed over the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy, and that's what's saving your hide. You're on the side of the galaxy equator, that's the heavenly side. That's where creation began. So the Earth and the solar system is going back to the creation point, and we're almost there. Now, we've just looked outside at a beautiful star that's been up over our house for quite a while now, and it is sparkling blue and red. And what colours would you say it is, no?
Blue, red, green, white.
Blue, red, green, white.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a normal twinkle. Star. It's a twinkle, that's for sure, but it is much, much brighter. Well, this is the Kachina. So very close to us now is the red dwarf, which the scientist of the world with their astronomy has been watching for 60 years. And it's at the door. Now, on these planets, there's 7 planets with them. On these planets are angels. And the orbit is around 3,636 years. And it's back. Now, go back another 3,636. So we're looking at 6,500. That's getting back to the time way before the flood when the pyramid was built, and all these wonderful structures around the earth were all built prior to the flood. Now, did the flood happen? Of course it happened. So what you have today is, if you talk about God, people say, oh, what rubbish, I don't believe all that. Well, of course you wouldn't, because you've been listening to these idiots raving on, the Jews in particular, and all these different religions. The Muslims are mad as hatters, and all these dreadful Christian churches. The Catholic Church, everything is the total and utter corruption. Why? Well, because the churches are the churches of Christ. That's what they're supposed to be. But the devil in man, demons, have reincarnated from before the flood. And everybody today is back for judgment. And throughout the hundreds of years leading up to this time, the likes of Lucifer and its angels, its fallen angels, have infiltrated into every conceivable facet what you as a human being would be exposed to. And that's the schooling, that's the invention of evolution. All your churches are all corrupt. The rabbis, of course, they all know what's going on. They're corrupt right from the start. So there's not many rabbis, I should say rabbits, are going to escape. It's as simple as that. You've had Yitzhak Kaduri, who was 108 when he died, and he said straight up that he had been speaking to what he thought was Jesus, was actually Michael the Archangel, and told him that the Messiah was Jesus, and he's back. He also made the statement that I won't be in Jerusalem, I'll be talking to the world from a distance. Well, naturally, I wouldn't go to Jerusalem. I think it's a shithole. It's full of death. and it's not holy by any stretch of the imagination. There'll be no temple. That's all rubbish. And unless you come to the party, nothing in the Northern Hemisphere will be suitable to live because it's going to be totally devoured by the plutonium in the air. So that's what it's all about. Now, you're either in or you're out. What's you got there?
Oh, I'm going through some of Catfish's photographs. He's the fellow in Galveston, Texas, that watches the webcams from Alaska and Europe. Look at these lights. This is at 4:41 in the morning. North.
Yeah.
South.
Well, it's all the astronomers know it's there, but if you are an astronomer and you open your mouth, you're a dead man. There's been, over 100 killed. The most dangerous profession on earth was to be an astronomer in the last 20 years.
Look at this in the southeast at 3:44 in the morning. It's from Colorado.
Now, Japan has cancelled 1,700 flights. They can't get pilots. The pilots at around 40 years of age is the average, retiring or they're sick. So they've got a training program on to train up pilots. They're so stupid, these people, that as each day goes by, the planes are falling out the skies because the radiation that you fly through is exposing you. Just because you're sitting in a plane doesn't mean you're not protected. You'd have to be in a plane made of lead. So have a bit of difficulty getting off the ground. So the point being is, as you're flying through the atmosphere, you're flying through the radiation, and what happens is that it attacks the metal, it penetrates into the metal, and the metal becomes brittle. So in particular, the landing gear, which is all hydraulics, the hydraulic hoses are crimped onto a threaded join, and that goes into your pumps or into your cylinders and so forth, because it's got to be flexible. But because they're a compression fit, the metal is becoming brittle. So you put the hydraulic pressure on, and who knows how much it is. It might be 100 pounds per square inch, it might be more. And it bursts the hoses. They just snap and push off the crimp. Can't stand the pressure. So planes are landing all the time, and people coming to Australia, like we've got our own kids over in North America, they're all too stupid to come home. Oh yeah, we believe who you are, yes, we'll come home. No. Now they're getting to a point where they won't be able to. Now, my children is just as vulnerable to judgment as your children and yourselves. I'm not playing favourites here, and nor would I stand up to protect my child, when I'm saying a child, a 40-year-old, from judgment. As a matter of fact, I'm not too enthusiastic about them making it into paradise. I know them very well, and I wouldn't have them. So it sounds a bit hard, but hey, I'm here to judge, not to make allowances for evil lifestyles. And they're not listening to me either. So it's hard on us, but that's how it is. I don't want to lose anybody, but I'm losing a lot.
All right, that's our time.
There we go.
58. That's it.
All right. See you next time.